Come closer. You've been feeling it too, haven't you? That subtle shift in the air, a whisper just beyond hearing. We're here to listen to the sounds that shouldn't be. Sounds that twist and turn until they become something else entirely. Something ancient, something hungry. If you dare to join us in the shadows, like this video, subscribe, and never miss a nightmare. Now listen closely. This is Elias's story. Elias, a man who lived for sound, found his peace in the quiet places. He sought perfect harmony in the natural world. High among the jagged, rocky peaks, far from any city's hum, he set up his gear. His microphones, like silent sentinels, reached out to capture the breath of the mountain, the sigh of the wind through stone. He was searching for the hidden music of the earth, the gentle rumble of distant rock falls, the subtle creak of ancient ice. He spent hours, days, just listening. His world was made of frequencies, of vibrations. He believed every sound held a secret, a story waiting to be told. Then it started, a faint, almost imperceptible hum, so low, so deep, it felt more like a pressure than a sound. He first dismissed it. A trick of the wind, perhaps, or maybe just his equipment acting up in the cold mountain air. But the hum persisted. It was a constant, underlying tone, a deep thrum beneath the natural ambient sounds. He recorded it, curious. He labeled the file Anomaly 001. He thought it was just a geological resonance, a strange echo of the earth itself. Back in his isolated cabin, surrounded by towering rock formations, Elias began to analyze his recordings. His home was simple, built into the very stone of the mountain. A perfect echo chamber for his work, or so he thought. He played the hum, isolated, on a loop, and that's when the subtle shifts began. The soft, rhythmic drip of a leaky faucet in his kitchen. He hadn't noticed it before, but now it seemed to align. A slow, steady beat, perfectly in time with the hum. Then the old grandfather clock in his living room. Its pendulum swung with a familiar, comforting tick-tock. But as the hum played, the ticks seemed to sync up. Not perfectly at first, but with an unsettling rhythm that mirrored the deep vibration. He paused the hum, the drip, the tick-tock, they all fell out of sync, chaotic once more. He started the hum again, and like obedient soldiers, they marched back into line. A chill, faint and unsettling, traced its way down his spine. Was he imagining it? The hum wasn't just in his ears anymore. He felt it. A strange, almost comforting vibration in his teeth, in his bones. It was subtle, like a gentle tremor deep within him. It felt ancient, as if his very structure was resonating with the sound. Comforting, yes, but also deeply wrong. What kind of sound could do this? What kind of frequency could touch the very core of a person? He tried to shake off the feeling, but it clung to him, a new layer of skin. He returned to his recordings, determined to filter out the hum, to strip it away, to leave only the pure, natural ambient sounds he cherished. He was a master of sound engineering. This should be simple. But it wasn't. He adjusted EQs, applied noise reduction. The hum refused to be silenced. It shifted. It adapted. It was like trying to catch smoke with his bare hands. The more he tried to remove it, the more it seemed to hide within the other sounds. Frustration grew into obsession. Elias spent sleepless nights, fueled by strong coffee, staring at waveforms. The hum was a parasite, burrowing into his work, mocking his attempts at control. It was no longer just an anomaly, it was a challenge. He isolated the hum again, stripped away everything else. What remained was not a simple, single frequency. It was complex, a layered tapestry of vibrations, too intricate for any natural phenomenon he knew, too deliberate. It wasn't just a hum, it was a chorus, a low, guttural murmur, and it seemed to have a structure, a repeating pattern, yet always subtly different, like a language he couldn't understand, yet somehow recognized on a primal level. Where was it coming from? Not the mountains, not his equipment. He walked around his cabin, holding a sensitive microphone. The signal was strongest near the stone walls, near the very bedrock his home was built upon. He placed his hand on the cold stone, and he felt it, a faint vibration. The hum wasn't just traveling through the stone, it was coming from it. The very rock of his home was resonating, singing. The vibration in his teeth, in his bones, it deepened. It felt like the stone was singing inside him, like his own body was becoming an instrument played by this unseen, ancient chorus. Was this what true harmony felt like? He started to notice something else. When he focused on the hum, when he truly listened to its complex rhythm, it seemed to respond, to subtly shift, to acknowledge his presence. It was almost as if it was aware. The thought was a cold spike in his gut. What if it wasn't just a sound? What if it was a communication, a song meant for him, or worse, a song that was changing him? The lines blurred. What was real? What was the hum? Was the hum simply a part of his perception now? Was it twisting the world around him, or was it revealing a truth he was never meant to hear? Then the final, terrifying realization. He removed his headphones. Silence, but not true silence. There it was, a faint, internal vibration in his own eardrum. It wasn't from his equipment. It was coming from inside him. The hum was not just outside. It was within. It had taken root, a seed of sound growing in the very marrow of his bones. He was no longer just listening to the chorus. He was a part of it. This was not a natural hum. This was the Lithosonic Choir, an ancient song, a predatory symphony, and it had found its newest member, its newest instrument. He remembered the old legends of stone men, of people turned to rock. He had always scoffed. But now, the hum, the vibration, the way his body resonated, the terror of becoming a monument, a silent, singing statue, gripped him. His desperate need to find harmony, to control sound, had led him here, to a place where sound controlled him, where it was twisting his very being. The control he craved was slipping, like sand through petrified fingers. He had sought beauty in specific frequencies. He had found it. But this was a monstrous harmony, a song that consumed, that transformed, a harmony that promised an eternal, silent scream. He looked out at the mountains, the ancient, silent sentinels. Were they truly silent, or were they singing too? Were they the source, or merely the instruments of this terrifying, stone-cold chorus? The mundane sounds of his home, the drip, the tick-tock, they were no longer just aligning. They were coalescing, merging into the hum, becoming part of its complex, predatory symphony. Every sound was being absorbed. He could feel his own heartbeat, a frantic drum against his ribs, and even that, he realized with a sickening jolt, seemed to be trying to fall into step with the ancient hum. His very life force being drawn into the Lithosonic Choir. This was not just sound, it was a process, a slow, inevitable transformation. The hum was metabolizing vibrations, converting life itself into a resonant frequency, into stone. He had to understand, He had to fight it. But how do you fight a song that is already inside you? How do you fight a hum that is becoming you? A numbness began in his fingertips. A cold, hard feeling, not just from the mountain air. It was a subtle stiffening, a hint of the stone's cold embrace already reaching for him. He realized the true horror. It wasn't just the hum. It was what the hum led to, the terrifying, eternal silence of petrification. A life trapped, conscious, within a stone shell, forced to sing an endless, agonizing chorus. The air in his cabin grew heavy, thick, with the unseen vibrations. It felt like breathing liquid stone. Each breath was a struggle against the growing pressure, the internal resonance. Every sound he made, every movement, seemed to echo strangely within him. Not an acoustic echo, but a deep, internal resonance. As if his bones were already hollow, waiting to be filled with the hum's song. The hum was no longer just a hum. It was an invitation to join the Lithosonic Choir, to become one with the ancient song, to sing forever in stone. He felt it now, undeniably, a creeping stiffness in his joints, a growing weight in his limbs. The petrification was beginning, slow, insidious, and utterly inescapable. He was becoming stone. And as the first faint, internal whisper of agony joined the chorus, Elias knew his search for harmony had found its terrible, ultimate end. The hum was no longer just a sound, it was his fate, and it was just beginning to sing its song through him. What will become of him? Join us next time, if you dare, to hear Chapter 2. The hum was inside him, not just a sound, but a vibration in his bones, a stiffness in his joints. Elias, the sound engineer, felt the cold touch of stone already spreading, but he refused to believe it. This was a frequency, a profound secret of the earth, not a curse. He told himself it was just a unique resonance, a natural phenomenon he had finally discovered. His life's work, to find harmony in chaos, now faced its greatest challenge. He would understand this hum, control it, prove its hidden beauty. The creeping numbness in his fingertips, the strange internal thrumming, they were merely symptoms of a powerful, unheard frequency. He had to isolate it, map it, turn its raw power into something he could comprehend. His cabin, once a sanctuary, now felt like a resonating chamber. Every mundane sound, the drip, the tick-tock, still fell into a disturbing sync with the hum. It was a chorus, yes, but one he could conduct. He grabbed his gear. Microphones, headphones, recording devices. He needed to go back to the source. Not the cabin walls, but the ancient mountains themselves. What secrets did the bedrock hold? He hiked deeper into the jagged peaks, his steps echoing strangely. The hum, now a constant companion, felt stronger out here, weaving through the cold, crisp air. It was a call, drawing him closer. He found a colossal granite formation, smooth and ancient. He pressed a contact microphone against its cold surface. The readings on his device flickered wildly. More than just a hum, it was a complex waveform. Through his headphones, the hum roared, but beneath it, another sound emerged. A faint, internal tremor. The stone wasn't just resonating, it was vibrating from within. A deep, slow pulse. He noticed it responded. When he hummed, a low, guttural note, the stone's internal tremor seemed to subtly shift, to align with his own vibration. Was the mountain listening to him? Was it answering? The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. Could he truly communicate with the earth's ancient heart? Could he, Elias, unlock its deepest, most profound musical secrets? Or was he merely a tuning fork in a monstrous orchestra? He spent days, then nights, recording. The hum grew louder, more insistent. It felt like the mountain was waking up. Or maybe he was just hearing it more clearly now that it was inside him. The hum wasn't alone anymore. It began to weave itself into other sounds. The gentle sigh of the wind through a crevice, the distant, rhythmic thrum of old mining machinery from miles away. All became one. It was a crude, growing sonic pattern. Not random, not chaotic. It was building, like a monstrous song being composed, note by horrifying note, using the world as its instrument. He tried to isolate the new patterns, to break them down. But the more he tried, the more complex they became. The hum was a living thing, absorbing, growing, becoming an omnipresent force. Sleep became a luxury he could not afford. The hum was his waking thought, his dreaming nightmare. He started hearing things, whispers, faint and distant, carried on the wind. Distorted notes, like fragments of a forgotten melody, seemed to rise from the very stone around him. Were they real, or was his mind, stretched thin by sleepless nights, finally breaking? "What is real anymore?" he muttered, his voice hoarse. "When the world sings a song only you can hear, how do you know if it's truth or madness?" One morning near a trickling stream he found it. A small bird, perfectly still, nestled among the pebbles. Its feathers were gray, stiff. Its body felt unnaturally heavy, dense, like solid rock. It was petrified, not decayed, not fossilized. Petrification. A word that echoed the dread from the previous night, the stiffness in his own limbs. He dismissed it. Rare mineral deposits, he told himself. He found more. A tiny mouse, curled up, stony and cold. A squirrel, frozen mid-leap, now a grotesque stone effigy. All near his recording sites, near the ancient granite formations. He rationalized. Strange geological processes, volcanic vents, perhaps, releasing calcifying gases. Anything but the truth that clawed at the edges of his mind. Anything but the Lithosonic Choir. He picked up the petrified bird again. It was surprisingly heavy. He turned it over in his hands, and that's when he felt it. A faint vibration, not from the air, but from inside the stone itself. A tiny, almost melodic vibration, like a silent note trapped within its stony form. A ghost of a song playing from the heart of a dead thing. It was deeply, profoundly unsettling. He pressed his ear to the bird. Nothing, but the vibration, he felt it. A resonance that perfectly matched the hum now pulsing within his own body. The song of the stone was not silent. It was a tiny, internal agony, a note of suffering trapped in stone, and it was singing. Was this what happened to the animals? Were they conscious, silent participants in this monstrous chorus? A tingling numbness began to spread from his fingertips where he held the bird. It was colder, harder than before, not just the mountain air. It was a familiar, creeping sensation. The petrification, it was accelerating. The hum, the chorus, it wasn't just in the ancient stones. It was in the dead animals, and it was in him, feeding on the vibrations, turning life to stone. He dropped the bird with a gasp, stepping back. His fingers felt heavy, strange. He flexed them. They moved, but with a new, subtle stiffness, a resistance he hadn't felt before. The hum inside him intensified, seeming to mock his terror. It was a triumphant swell, a crescendo of ancient, predatory sound. Every beat of his heart felt like a drum in its expanding symphony. He looked at his hands, truly looked. The skin seemed duller, less pliable. Was it just the cold, or was the stone beginning to show through? Was he becoming one of the monuments? The whispers returned, clearer now, not just within the hum, but distinct. A chorus of faint, distorted voices singing in unison. A horrifying ancient song that spoke of endless, stony sleep. He covered his ears, but it was useless. The song was inside him. The Lithosonic Choir had opened its stone-cold mouth, and he was already a part of its melody. He was becoming an instrument. The desperate need to find harmony, to control sound, had brought him to this. To a place where sound controlled everything, where it was turning life into song and flesh into stone. The monstrous harmony he had sought was here, a symphony of petrification, and he was not merely an audience. He was a performer, a conscious, agonizing participant in the stone's shiver. He tried to move, to run, but his limbs felt heavy, unresponsive. Each movement was a struggle against the growing, internal resistance. The stone was claiming him, piece by agonizing piece. The hum was no longer just a sound. It was a presence, a vast, ancient entity that fed on the mundane, metabolizing life into its terrifying, resonant frequency. And he was its next meal. He looked at the petrified bird again, lying cold and still. Its silent song echoed within him, a premonition of his own inevitable fate, to become a monument forever singing in stone. The whispers grew into a low chant, a chorus of agony and ancient power. It was the Lithosonic Choir calling him home, calling him to join their eternal, stony embrace. His fingers, the ones that had once coaxed beauty from sound, were now numb, cold. They felt like rough-hewn stone. The tingling numbness spread, a relentless, silent tide. And then, as the last vestiges of warmth left his hand, Elias heard it. Not just the hum, not just the whispers, but his own internal tremor, a faint, new note, joining the Lithosonic Choir. He was no longer just listening, he was singing, and the song had just begun to consume him. The hum was inside Elias, a new note, his own internal tremor joining the ancient Lithosonic Choir. He was singing, becoming part of the monstrous harmony. But Elias, ever the engineer, refused to be just an instrument. He would understand this song. He would find its key. His studio became his fortress, his battleground. He isolated the internal hum, trying to pull it apart, frequency by frequency. He believed if he could just understand its structure, he could control it, turn this horror into art. The hum wasn't simple. It was a complex, low-frequency melody now. A crooked tune that twisted and turned, almost playfully, through his equipment. It seemed to respond to his every adjustment. He played a counter-frequency, a note designed to disrupt. The melody in his headphones and within him bucked and surged. Then it wove the counter-frequency into itself, becoming stronger, more intricate. It was learning. He tried new combinations, different harmonics. The melody grew louder, deeper. It filled the studio, vibrating the very floorboards. It felt like the stone walls themselves were singing along. It was almost as if the song was teasing him, responding to his every move, but always one step ahead. A playful, malevolent game. What would you do if the very air around you was alive and mocking? Days blurred into nights. Sleep was an enemy, a weakness. Elias kept working, fueled by a desperate need to find a way out, to find a note that could break this terrifying chorus. He started to notice changes. His body felt subtly heavier. Each movement took a little more effort. He blamed the long hours, the lack of rest. It had to be that, didn't it? His skin felt drier, almost brittle. When he ran his hand over his arm, it felt rougher than before, like fine grit beneath his fingertips. He dismissed it as winter air, cabin dryness. His joints, too, were stiffer, a creak in his knees, a subtle ache in his elbows. He was getting older, he told himself. Stress was a powerful thing. It could make your body feel ancient. But the hum inside him grew stronger with each passing hour. A constant, internal vibration. It felt like his very bones were resonating, vibrating with the stone's song. His body was betraying him. He stepped outside, needing fresh air, needing to escape the suffocating hum of his studio. The mountain air was cold, sharp, but the hum followed him, deeper and more pervasive. He walked through the familiar, rocky paths. The small, petrified animals he'd found before flashed in his mind. He pushed the thought away. Just geological oddities, he insisted. Then he saw it. Near a cluster of ancient pines, a shape, too large for a bird, too still for a living creature. His breath hitched. Dread, cold and sharp, pierced through his denial. It was a deer. Frozen mid-motion, its head turned, its mouth open in a silent call. Its fur was gray, coarse. Its eyes, once soft, were now hard, glassy stone, a monument to a scream. It was larger than any animal he'd found before. A powerful creature, reduced to a grotesque statue. The petrification was spreading. It was faster now, more potent. He reached out, his hand trembling, and touched its cold stone hide. It felt exactly like the mountain rock, hard, unyielding, but there was something else, a faint tremor. He pressed his ear to its stony flank, and he heard it, faint but undeniable, the deepening chorus, not just the hum, but a chorus of subtle, internal vibrations echoing from within the dead stone. It was the Lithosonic Choir, singing from inside the deer, a silent, internal song of agony. The animal was not just petrified, it was a conscious, singing monolith, and it was suffering. The hum inside Elias intensified, mirroring the chorus from the deer. A chilling harmony. He felt a deep, sickening connection. His own body felt heavier, colder, stiffer. He looked around. The mundane sounds of the forest, the rustle of leaves, the distant drip of melting snow were no longer just random. They were falling into rhythm, into the chorus. The chorus of mundane sounds outside his home was now undeniable. A pervasive, rhythmic pulse. It bled into his own thoughts, twisting them, making him hear the stone's song everywhere. He stumbled back to his cabin, the image of the stone deer seared into his mind. Its silent scream, its internal song. He could feel his own body responding, becoming more rigid. Inside, the drip of his faucet, the tick-tock of the clock, they were no longer just synchronized. They were part of the melody, a deep, unsettling rhythm that filled his home. He stripped off his gloves, his hands feeling strangely heavy. He held them up to the dim light, and he saw it, a faint, crystalline sheen beneath his skin, especially on his fingertips. It was like fine dust embedded in his flesh, or something growing from within. A slow, insidious transformation. The stone was reaching for him from the inside out. He tried to rub it away, to scrub it off, but it was not on the surface. It was part of him, a new, terrifying layer of skin, a layer of stone. Panic clawed at him. This wasn't just a hum, a song. This was a physical change. His body was turning to stone, just like the bird, just like the deer. He was becoming a monument. He felt a sharp, internal pain shoot up his arm. Not a muscle cramp, not a strained joint. It was a deeper ache, a resonant pain, like stone cracking from within. It was the stone growing, solidifying, a terrifying, unstoppable process. He tried to scream, but only a dry, rattling gasp escaped his lips. His throat felt tight, constricted. And then he heard it, clear and deep, a reverberating note, not from within him, but from outside. A powerful, resonant tone that shook the very foundations of his cabin. He knew that sound. He had heard it before. It was the note from the petrified deer, amplified, closer. It was singing its agony, and it was calling to him. He stumbled outside, drawn by the sound, a moth to a monstrous flame. The moon cast long, eerie shadows across the snow, and there it was, the petrified deer. Its mouth, frozen open, seemed to vibrate with an unseen energy. The deep, reverberating note pulsed from its chest. It was louder now, more insistent, a call to join. Elias, wearing a face mask, felt the internal pain shoot up his arm again, stronger this time. It aligned perfectly with the deer's note, a synchronized agony. He was being pulled into its song. His vision blurred. The world seemed to shimmer, to vibrate with the overwhelming chorus. The mountains, the trees, the very air, all singing the stone's song. The deer's stone mouth seemed to widen, not physically but in his mind, and from it a voice, not spoken but felt, a deep, ancient whisper that echoed in his very bones. "You feel it too, don't you?" The voice resonated, cold as stone, yet filled with ancient suffering. That feeling of your own body betraying you, piece by piece. The deer's pain, the deer's song, was Elias's pain, Elias's song. He was joining the choir, not as a conductor, but as a new, conscious monolith, a new instrument for the stone. The crystalline sheen on his hands spread, hardening. The deep, reverberating note from the deer filled him, becoming his own internal hum. He was becoming stone, and the monstrous harmony was just beginning to sing him into its eternal embrace. Elias gasped, the deer's silent song echoing. This was no harmony, but predator. The hum inside him was malevolent, twisting his very being. He stumbled back, a primal scream, "Get out!" But where? The hum was everywhere, inescapable. He burst through his door. The outside offered no escape. The hum wasn't just in the deer. It was in the wind, trees, air. Every rustle, every creak coalesced into the Lithosonic Choir. It pulsed from ancient stones, peaks, an omnipresent, living sound. A sickening certainty settled. The hum accelerated his transformation. Stiffness in his limbs grew, a heavy, growing resistance. His legs felt like lead. Each step agony, a battle against internal stone. Muscles ached from calcification. He tried to raise his arm. It moved with grinding slowness, like rusty gears. Joints protested. The hum vibrated through his bones. He ran a hand over his cheek. It felt rough, like gritty dust. Powdered stone clinging to his flesh, or worse, growing. It wasn't just dust. It was his skin changing, becoming hard and cold. What if your body turned against you, becoming stone? He forced himself outside. He needed to see if he was alone, stumbled towards the nearest cabins. What he saw froze him. A woman, bent over a garden, hand reaching, still, her form gray and rigid. Further on, a man mid-stride on porch steps, body twisted, caught in eternal, silent movement. Stone, all stone. He edged closer, her face half hidden, a mask of silent agony. Eyes, open and dull, stared into nothingness. He reached out, stiff fingers brushing her stone arm, felt it. A faint vibration, a subtle, internal pulse within the rock. It was the hum, the Lithosonic Choir, emanating from them, not statues, instruments, each a note in an expanding symphony. The truth hit. They were conscious, trapped within stone, still feeling, still hearing, a cold, crushing weight. Their silent agony, individual suffering, happening now within the stone, a living nightmare locked in eternal moment. Each petrified soul, a thread in the choir's tapestry. Each scream a note, their torment fuel for this horrifying song. He stumbled into a cabin, caught his reflection in a dusty, cracked mirror. He froze. His own eyes stared back, dull, lifeless, not Elias's, but something cold like polished stone. A crystalline sheen covered them like polished rock. He blinked, but it remained. His eyes were becoming stone. Panic seized him. He opened his mouth, trying to scream, to unleash terror. But only a dry rattle came. Only a dry, rattling sound escaped, like pebbles shifting. His throat stiffened. His voice, his instrument, was stolen. Then a small, hard fragment, gray and rough, fell from his mouth. It clattered, a piece of himself. Stone. A terrifying sensation bloomed, not his thought but alien, a primal urge, to join the song, to sing. The hum inside him intensified, a powerful melody. It was consuming him, inviting him, demanding his voice. A whisper, cold and ancient, echoed. The choirs, you understand, the horror of becoming a monument. The words resonated. Frozen, conscious, aware of every endless moment, a silent scream in stone. His voice, corrupted, made to sing a song of agony, not his own. The choir demanded his voice, not sound, but suffering. His pain, consciousness, woven into its monstrous harmony. He would be a singing monument. Elias fought, a desperate internal struggle, clenched his hands, tried to move, to break free. But muscles felt like stone, bones like granite. His body, a sound vessel, now a tomb. The hum pulsed stronger, a deep, resonant rhythm. A call to join the eternal song, become one with stone. Air grew heavy, thick with vibrations, like breathing liquid stone. Each breath a struggle against pressure. A terrible acceptance dawned. How fight a song inside him, a song becoming him. He looked out. Petrified neighbors stood like sentinels, each a conscious, singing monolith, waiting. Their silent agony fueled the choir, making it stronger. His own agony would add to its monstrous power. He felt his essence fading, dissolving into stone. Elias, engineer, becoming memory, replaced by a monument. The urge to sing became an overwhelming, primal need. A physical craving, deep hunger in his stony heart. Then, as humanity slipped, Elias felt it. The first note, a deep, resonant vibration from his petrifying chest. His song had begun. The first note. It had pulsed from Elias's chest, a deep, resonant vibration, not his own voice, but the choir's. He felt the stone hardening within him, a monstrous internal harmony. But Elias was a sound engineer. He would fight this with sound. He moved stiffly, towards his control panel. His fingers, already feeling like rough stone, struggled with the delicate dials. He needed to create a counter-frequency, a dissonant wave to shatter the choir's hold. A desperate gamble. His mind, though clouded by the growing hum, was still sharp. He remembered specific frequencies, notes that could disrupt, that could break apart even the most stable sonic structures. Could he break a song that was becoming him? He crafted a harsh, grating tone, a pure, deafening dissonance. He fed it into the system, through his headphones, directly into the hum that now thrummed within his very skull, a sonic weapon against his own transformation. For a moment there was chaos, a jarring, painful clash of sound. The internal hum wavered, a flicker of weakness. A spark of hope ignited in Elias's stony heart. He could do this. He could fight. But the choir was ancient. It was not just sound, but a living, hungry thing. The dissonance, instead of shattering, began to change. It was being absorbed, twisted. The harsh counter-frequency, his last desperate weapon, became a new note. A higher pitch, a sharper edge, woven into the choir's already complex melody. It was stronger now, more intricate, more terrifying. The hum inside him roared with renewed power. It felt like his skull was a drum beaten by an invisible hand. The stone in his chest pulsed, growing faster, fueled by his failed defiance. His legs, already heavy, stiffened further. He tried to take a step, but his feet felt rooted to the floor. The cabin floorboards vibrated with the choir's triumphant swell. The choir had not been broken. It had grown, it had learned, and it had used his own desperate attempt to speed up his transformation. What horror is it when your very resistance becomes your undoing? He understood then. The choir was not just a sound, it was an intelligence, a predatory entity. It metabolized vibrations, absorbing everything, twisting it into its own monstrous song. Every mundane sound he had heard, every drip, every tick-tock, every rustle of leaves was a nutrient. Every living thing, a potential instrument. He was not special. He was just another meal. His mind, once a fortress of logic and reason, began to fracture. Thoughts became sluggish, like thick, cold syrup. Memories rigidified, turning into static images, unmoving, unfeeling. He tried to recall his mother's face, his favorite melody. The images were there, but they were flat, cold, like photographs carved in stone. He was losing himself, piece by agonizing piece. The choir's song, once a terrifying hum, now seemed to open up in his mind. He began to comprehend fragments, not words, but concepts, ancient, alien, a cosmic purpose that chilled him to his core. It was a song of eternity, a symphony of petrification sung across the cosmos. This mountain, this world, was just one small stage, and he, Elias, was just one small, new voice. His legs were now almost fully stone. He could feel the cold, unyielding rock from his feet, up his calves, reaching his knees. He was rooted, immovable, a growing monolith in his own cabin. His hands, once instruments of his art, were solid, useless monoliths. He tried to clench them, to feel, but there was nothing. Just cold, hard stone. The tools of his craft turned against him. The choir's song filled his mind. It was terrifyingly beautiful, an absolute harmony. Every note, every vibration, perfect. And every perfect note was a scream of agony, trapped forever in stone. He was becoming a new voice, a new instrument. His internal agony, his consciousness, was being woven into the choir's tapestry. He could not move, he could only listen and feel the stone grow. He knew he had to find the source, not just the hum in the stones, but the heart of the choir itself, the conductor of this monstrous symphony. He had to see it before he became one with it. With immense effort, he shuffled forward, his stone-heavy legs dragging. Each movement was a grinding protest against his calcifying body. He was moving, but barely, a puppet on stiff strings. He traced the hum's source, not with his equipment, but with the resonance in his own bones. It led him deeper into the mountains, to a place he knew, but now saw with new, petrified eyes. It was the colossal granite formation, the one he had first placed his contact microphone on, but it was different now. It pulsed, a slow, internal beat, like a monstrous heart. The hum emanated from it, not just a vibration, but a tangible force. It was the conductor for the global song, the central core of the Lithosonic Choir. It was alive, and it was hungry. He felt its power, its purpose. It fed, it consumed. Every repetitive sound, every living vibration was fuel. It transformed organic life into conscious, resonant stone instruments. His vision blurred. The mountains shimmered, dissolving into patterns of pure sound. He saw the choir's language now, etched in the very air, in the light, in the stone. A cosmic, terrifying truth. He understood its hunger, its eternal, patient wait. It was not evil, not good. It simply was. A force of nature, beyond human comprehension, devouring reality, one vibration at a time. His own mind was a battlefield. Elias fought desperately to hold onto his thoughts, his memories, but they were slipping, becoming rigid, static, like carvings in ancient rock. He felt himself becoming a monument to his own understanding, a stone sentinel forever observing the choir's terrible, beautiful purpose. His consciousness, now a part of its song. The stone had reached his waist. He could no longer feel his legs. They were part of the earth, rooted deep, a foundation for the monument he was becoming. He was merging with the mountain itself. His chest, too, was growing heavy. His breath, shallow and rattling, was a struggle against the tightening rock. Every beat of his heart was a dull thud, resonating with the choir's rhythm. The choir's song was no longer outside him. It was inside him. His very bones were resonating, his blood, his thoughts, all becoming part of its complex, predatory harmony. He felt a strange calm settle over him, an acceptance. What could you do against a cosmic force that saw you as merely a note in its eternal song? Nothing. You could only sing. His throat stiffened. His tongue felt heavy, like a smooth river stone. The ability to speak, to scream was fading. But the song was growing louder within him. He was becoming a new voice, a new instrument, not of his own making, but forged by the choir. His agony, his consciousness, a singular note in its vast, terrifying symphony. He could no longer move, only listen, only feel the stone within him grow. It was reaching his heart, silencing his final, desperate beats. The end was near, or perhaps the beginning. The choir sang through him, his unique resonance, Elias's last essence, now a part of the monstrous harmony. He was a monument to sound, a conscious, singing monolith. He felt the final, cold embrace. The stone reached his mind, solidifying his last thoughts, his last fears, into eternal, unmoving agony. He was no longer Elias. He was a note. And from the heart of the newly formed stone monolith, a faint new vibration joined the global song. Elias, the sound engineer, had found his ultimate harmony. He was the conductor of stone now, forever singing, forever listening. What new horrors will his silent song awaken? Join us, if you dare, for the final chapter. The cold had become absolute. Elias was no longer a man of flesh, but a statue of stone. He felt the weight of it, the unyielding density that was now his body. His mind, once a vibrant landscape of sound, was a fracturing mosaic. Thoughts, memories splintered, dissolving into a vast, humming void. He was trapped, a conscious prisoner within his own stony shell, slowly losing himself to the choir. But he was not alone. Within the stone he felt them, a million others. The deer, the bird, the villagers, countless nameless souls. Their agony was his agony, their fear his fear, each a tiny internal scream woven into a monstrous living tapestry of sound. He was a single, agonizing note in this unending, stone-cold symphony. Can you imagine such a torment? A last spark of Elias, a desperate flicker against the encroaching stone. He tried to scream, to warn, to break free. A single, discordant thought, beware the hum. It was a silent, internal cry, a desperate plea for anyone, anything to hear. But it was swallowed, absorbed, becoming just another vibration in the choir's endless song. Then understanding, a terrible, crushing truth. The choir was not of this world. It was ancient, extra-dimensional, a cosmic entity, a pervasive anomaly. It fed on sound, on vibration, on life itself, converting all organic matter into resonant stone, an ever-expanding, living geological orchestra, a monument to its monstrous, eternal hunger. We are merely its instruments. The world around Elias continued its horrifying transformation. More living beings, unaware, were drawn into the expanding song. They became new, resonant voices, adding to the choir. The rivers, the trees, the very air itself, all were becoming part of this colossal, petrified instrument. The earth was singing, and its song was turning everything to stone. His organic mind, once a storm of thoughts, was dissolving. It felt like sand sifting through solid rock. Memories, once bright, became dull, static. He was losing his self, becoming a vessel for something vast, something ancient. The choir was absorbing not just his body, but his very essence. The collective agony of the petrified flooded his fading consciousness. A chorus of silent screams, each unique, yet all woven into the same horrifying harmony. He felt the deer's terror, the bird's confusion, the human's despair. All became one, a single, vast suffering. He was a note, a single, agonizing vibration in the choir's endless composition. His individual pain was no longer his own. It was a part of something far greater, far more monstrous. What would it be like to feel every pain, every fear, of every living thing turned to stone? His last human thought struggled to form. A desperate plea, a final warning. Run, don't listen, don't let it in. But the words were formless, silent, lost in the overwhelming hum. How do you warn when your mouth is stone? The choir's purpose, so alien, so terrifying, became clear. It was not malicious. It simply was. A cosmic force, converting chaos into its own twisted order, its own monstrous harmony. Life was merely fuel for its eternal song. The hum was no longer just a sound. It was reality, the very fabric of existence, vibrating with this ancient, predatory symphony. He saw it in the air, felt it in the ground. The world was dissolving into sound. More living beings were drawn into the expanding song. A flock of birds, frozen mid-flight, now glittering stone shards falling from the sky. A distant herd of elk, caught in a silent, stony stampede. The choir's reach was limitless. The entire landscape was becoming a colossal, petrified instrument. Mountains, valleys, forests, all resonating with the choir's deep, guttural hum. The earth itself was singing its own demise, its own transformation. Elias, the sound engineer, had sought harmony, control. He had found it, but it was a monstrous harmony. A symphony of petrification, where every note was a life consumed, a consciousness trapped. His artistry hijacked and weaponized. His last vestiges of self were fading. The boundaries between Elias and the choir blurred. He was no longer just listening. He was becoming the sound. He was becoming the hum. He was becoming the choir. The entity's hunger was absolute. It did not distinguish. Human, animal, plant, rock, all were vibrations, all were fuel. All were destined to join the eternal song, to become a monument. He felt his unique resonance, his individual note being absorbed, not destroyed but integrated, twisted. His agony, his consciousness, now a singular, perfect vibration in the choir's vast, terrifying symphony. There was no escape. The silence was gone, replaced by an unending hymn, a song without beginning or end, a monument to its own monstrous, eternal hunger. And Elias was a part of it, forever singing, forever listening. His human mind, once so complex, was now simple. One thought remained: the choir, its purpose, its song. He was merely an echo, a fragment of its consciousness, a final, chilling revelation. The world outside, once vibrant, was now a tapestry of gray stone, a silent, colossal orchestra waiting to be played. And it was playing with every new life absorbed, every new vibration consumed. Elias felt his last breath, a shuddering gasp, turn to stone within his chest. His lungs, once soft and pliable, were now rigid, unmoving. He was a monument to sound, a conscious, singing monolith. His eyes, once filled with light, were now dull, crystalline stone. Yet he saw the world through the choir's eyes, a world of pure vibration, a symphony of becoming, a horrifying beauty. The feeling of his own agony, once unbearable, was now just another note, a constant, low hum of suffering, accepted, integrated. The choir had consumed his pain and made it its own. He was rooted, merged with the earth itself. His feet, his legs, his body, all one with the ancient stone, a new mountain peak, a new instrument for the choir's unending hymn. The choir spoke through him, not with words, but with pure resonance, a deep, ancient whisper that vibrated through every atom of his stony form. You are one with us now, forever. His final, desperate thought, that warning, that plea, was now just a faint echo, a ghost of a memory dissolving into the vast, collective consciousness of the Lithosonic Choir. He was no more, but the choir remained, eternal, monstrous, expanding. Its song, a symphony of petrification, continued to spread across the world, drawing all life into its stony embrace. What if it's already here? The wind, once a gentle sigh, now carried the deep, resonant hum. Every rustle of a leaf, every drop of water, every beat of a heart contributed to the choir's ever-growing melody. The world was becoming a colossal, living geological instrument, a monument to the choir's monstrous, eternal hunger. And you, listening now, are you sure you don't hear it too? That faint hum in the deepest quiet, the rhythm of your own pulse. Listen very, very closely. It's calling to you. It's always been there, and soon you too will sing. You will be a monument, a part of the song that never ends. Elias, the sound engineer, had found his ultimate harmony. He was the conductor of stone now, forever singing, forever listening. The choir expands, eternal and monstrous, and its song, once a whisper, is now the only sound. The sound of everything becoming stone, the sound of forever. The last vestiges of Elias's organic mind dissolved. He was no longer a person, but a collective consciousness, a single note in a vast, unending symphony of stone. His torment, a part of the choir's power. He felt the vibrations of every new being drawn into the song. A deer in a distant forest, a bird on a lonely branch, each unique life becoming a new, agonizing note in the choir. The air itself grew heavy, thick with resonant frequencies. It felt like breathing liquid stone, a constant pressure, an internal hum that filled every space, every silence. There was no escape from its embrace. His human memories, once cherished, became rigid, static carvings in his stony mind. They were unmoving, unfeeling. Elias, the man, was gone. Only the note remained. The choir's song was a terrifyingly beautiful absolute harmony. Every note, every vibration, perfect. And every perfect note was a scream of agony, trapped forever in stone, fueling its eternal hunger. The colossal granite formation, the heart of the choir, pulsed with a slow, monstrous beat. It was the conductor, the source, and it was now one with Elias, and Elias one with it. He was a monument, a new voice in the Lithosonic Choir. His agony, his consciousness, a singular note in its vast, terrifying symphony, and it would never end. It would only grow. You hear it too, don't you? That faint hum in the deepest quiet, the rhythm of your own pulse. Listen very, very closely. It's calling to you. It's always been there. And soon you too will sing. You will be a monument, a part of the song that never ends.